So today we're going to be looking at a scenario where Luxembourg forms an empire. Now Luxembourg is a very small country over here in Western Europe that borders Belgium, Germany, and France. And in this video they're going to be going militaristic, they're going to be going full-on expansionist, and they are going to be forming a new empire. If you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. As always, all of the support is greatly appreciated. Make sure to check out the limited edition 200,000 subscriber merchandise, link to that down in the description below. And let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So this micro country will now be forming an empire, but in order to do so, they have to do a lot of things first. First of all, they're probably going to install a dictator who wants to expand the country, so they go ahead and do that. They're going to have to leave NATO and the EU, and actually we're going to have to just get rid of those nations completely because otherwise Luxembourg would be stomped by all of their neighbors. And we're also going to have to start using their money to build up a military as well as influence other countries. Luxembourg is a fairly wealthy nation for its size, definitely, so they're going to start building up a military, and they're also going to start causing some issues from within Belgium. Now, of course, like always in these videos, Luxembourg is going to be buffed because otherwise Luxembourg wouldn't be able to invade any of their neighbors. But when the time comes, the first country that they will attack is Belgium. Now, once again, this scenario is not supposed to be realistic. I know that Luxembourg would get folded instantly, but are we entirely sure? I mean, when was the last time you saw Luxembourg in action? I have a feeling that they could probably take on Belgium and maybe extort their issue. The whole population line thing, we all know what I'm talking about, right? The Flemish people. Anyway, Luxembourg forces will easily take over the city of Brussels from Belgium, and from there they will exterminate them from existence. So just like that, Belgium has already taken out its first country, and they are now about 5 times larger than they just were, maybe even 6, or no. But already Belgium will begin to look towards its next country to invade, and the obvious choice is going to be the Netherlands, who is just north of their territory. So Luxembourg will once again start to use its economic output to increase their military numbers because the Netherlands are a little bit stronger than Belgium. So a lot more economic output, a lot more military buildup, and a lot of internal disruption by the Luxembourgers. But when the time is finally right, Luxembourg will declare war on the Netherlands, and taking advantage of those internal issues that they've been causing, their military will move in and begin to take a lot of territory. They will take the major city of Rotterdam before being right outside the city that is the capital of the Netherlands, which is called Amsterdam. My American genes are overriding my mapping knowledge. But the Luxembourgers will go ahead and take over Amsterdam, and from there the Dutch will surrender over to these guys down here. So we can go ahead and take a look at this other peace treaty, in which the mighty nation of Luxembourg now takes over all of the Benelux countries, and they're now pretty noticeable on the world map. Before, you know, they were just a little tiny speck, but now you can actually see them, especially with it colored in. But now that they have conquered all of this territory, there is a slight dilemma, and that is, where does Luxembourg go next? I wouldn't recommend invading France or the UK. Those are both top 10 powers. Germany isn't a top 10 power, but they are a top 5 economic power, and that money can be used to destroy you, so don't touch the Germans. Plus, they also have a lot of experience in your territory, so just stray away from that. So neither of the countries that Luxembourg borders can be invaded, which means they're going to have to start to develop a navy, because there is a lot of opportunity up here in the North Sea, and more specifically with Iceland. Iceland doesn't really have a military, so that's a prime target for Luxembourg. So the Luxembourgers will go ahead and start to develop a navy, one that is capable of challenging the United Kingdom. No, not really, but maybe in the future. And they'll begin to send their ships up towards Iceland. Now they do have to be a little bit careful not to make the UK too mad at them. They're going to pass very closely by their territorial waters. But once they get back up here to the open sea, it is fair game for Iceland. Luxembourg will go ahead and declare war on Iceland, and their troops will make a landing in the very south of this country. Now, the strategy here is very simple. Capture the capital. We got a lot of land to take here. And after losing all of their western areas, Iceland will simply surrender. Once again, they don't really have much of a military here, if at all. So this war would be over pretty much as soon as it starts. All Luxembourg would have to do is march into like the government buildings, declare themselves as the ruler of this land, and that would be it. No one's going to really fight back, other than like maybe the police force. But I think I remember reading somewhere that the police force isn't even armed. So, I mean, this is just free territory right here. That is if it wasn't protected by you. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty, where Luxembourg will more likely than not be fully annexing Iceland. And that's exactly what they do. So the Luxembourg Empire now has a little vacation spot, although I'm not sure if this is much of a vacation spot, more like a sightseeing spot if you like looking at cold stuff. But that is more land, more resources, and thus it will help their economic output, which once again will help their military out in the long run. But now they need to take on yet another nation that isn't super strong, because if they took on once again France or Germany or the UK, this video would end. We don't want that to happen just yet. So now we have the Luxembourgers going after the nation of Denmark. Notably, the breakout of this war will cause the country of Greenland to, well, become a country, but not for very long, as the Americans will move in and do what they've always wanted to do. But now that Greenland is under American control, Luxembourg can't go after it, so that kind of sucks for them. Don't worry, Luxembourg will not invade Denmark in 6 hours. In fact, it will take 12 hours for them to do this. It does get a little bit more complicated once the Luxembourgers get over towards Copenhagen, which is where most of the Danish military is at this point. Once the peninsula fell, everyone just kind of went back to the capital because they knew that doom was on the way, and they're going to try to stop it. But as you can see, that city has been captured. So Danish forces will now escape over to Bornholm, and that is where they will set up their new government, just on this little island over here. But Luxembourg shows up and they do a drive-by, and now everyone's dead. So that kind of sucks for them. But Denmark is taken out, and we can go ahead and take a look at yet another peace treaty between the territorial expansionist nation of Luxembourg and not so strong nation Denmark. All right, Denmark does not actually cease to exist. Instead, they now set up a new country over here in Bornholm. This is just all that remains of Denmark. So yeah, tiny nation. Germany or Poland definitely could be eyeing them up, or maybe even Sweden because of that historic rivalry they have. But on the topic of Sweden and historic rivalries, we're going to come over here to Norway. Now, why are we going to Norway? Well, you guys guessed it. Luxembourg wants oil. And why does Luxembourg want oil? Well, they're going to need it for any of their future wars. And their future wars are going to consist of fighting against some pretty strong nations, like Germany, for example. So they need all the resources that they can get from Norway. Now, this country is very mountainous, and Luxembourg does not care about that. They are just gliding across the country as if there were no mountains here. It's almost as if I don't really account for that too often. Norway, yeah, anyway, Oslo is going to be taken over by Luxembourger forces, and from there, the country of Norway will go ahead and surrender over the Danish forces. And once again, we have the Danish controlling Norway. They will now annex another entire country in a peace treaty. The only country that they haven't fully annexed so far is technically Denmark, but I mean, most of it is gone at this point. But with the recent occurrences up here in Scandinavia, a country is going to start to lean towards Luxembourg for their actions. I've mentioned them before, but Sweden will be offering an alliance with Luxembourg. Now, this is a big pickup for Luxembourg. Sweden is a very strong country, definitely in comparison to them, even when they're buffed. But Sweden was just astonished by the work that Luxembourg has done. They've gotten rid of Denmark, they've gotten rid of Norway. Life is good in Sweden, and to show our appreciation for you, let's sign an alliance, a military alliance, in fact. This is going to help out Luxembourg tremendously, not only in the military department, but also the economic department and resource department. Sweden has a lot of resources that they can easily export over to Luxembourg to help them in their future war efforts. And by future war efforts, I mean the war that's happening right now against Germany. If this was a serious channel, the video would probably end pretty soon. However, Germany needs to go away. This is revenge for World War II. Luxembourg will send its entire military in a full-scale ground invasion of Germany. Their main priority as of now is to cut off German access to the Atlantic Ocean, so they'll go ahead and send their forces down. Luxembourg will capture Hamburg. I know it's not how you pronounce it, but it's kind of funny, right? And the Luxembourgers will begin to move across the state of Germany. Not before, however, Germany mobilizes an entire army and wipes Luxembourg straight off the map, ending this video. Must have been a dream. Anyway, Sweden is now here landing in the north, and their forces are going to head straight down towards Berlin. A rather large encirclement just south of Hamburg will cut off a majority of Germany's forces in the central region, while down in the south, Luxembourg will struggle to make adequate progress in this region. That is mostly due to the fact that Germany is trying its best to protect the city of Frankfurt, but they should probably worry a little bit more about their capital city, as Swedish forces are just to the north of it. Additionally, Luxembourger forces are just to the south of it now, as they are attempting to do a full-on encirclement of the capital area, in which they do after connecting with the border of Poland. And from here, the red team's forces will begin to slowly but surely squeeze their way in, surrounding all of Berlin. While down in the south of the country, the Allies will send their forces down and start to target other cities like Frankfurt and Munich. Frankfurt will also be encircled, very similar to the city of Berlin, and also very similar, the red team's forces will begin to squeeze in. While back down south, a spearhead erupts that goes ahead and captures the city of Munich, which is going to cause Germany to surrender over to Luxembourger and Swedish forces. So with one of the larger countries in Europe out of the way and under full occupation of Luxembourg, we can go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. In the Treaty of Munich, we can see that Luxembourg will go ahead and annexed pretty much all of the northwest of Germany. Their territorial claims in Denmark are now connected to their territorial claims over in Benelux. Additionally, we see Sweden get the northern coast of Germany, not going too close to Berlin, but also being kind of right there. And also notably, we see that Bavaria gets their independence and also annexes the southwesternmost portion of Germany. So the actual German state itself is now extremely weak and even smaller than the country of Czechia. Probably pretty embarrassing for them, I'd have to imagine, but you know, they're used to being screwed over by peace treaties. Also, Bavaria is going to join in on Luxembourg's alliance because Bavaria is so happy that they have been freed from the German state. So similar to Sweden, thank you for doing that, and in support for that, I'm going to go ahead and give you my military. All right, let's invade France. The new bad guy alliance of Europe will now send their forces straight over into France. And similar to a certain war, a certain number of years ago in a certain decade that was certainly not the 1940s. I'm very certain about this, by the way. Paris will be captured very quickly. There is no Dunkirk here because the UK isn't in the war, so it's just French troops being killed instead. There's no evacuations because there's nowhere to evacuate to unless you're counting like Corsica. I guess France could evacuate there, but I don't think the Corsicans would like more French people there. Anyway, all of Alsace-Lorraine is now under the red team's control, and Paris is long gone behind enemy front lines. The city of Lyon is in the crosshairs of the red team. They will quickly spearhead down and capture it. They'll do very bad things to the French population here. Luxembourg is very brutal, very not modern, very ancient in the sense of how they deal with people that are not Luxembourgers. Basically, what I'm trying to say is don't give these guys an empire. It would be very bad. The world is not ready for the Luxembourg Empire. Very strong, very brutal, but they now reach all the way down to the state of Andorra. Andorra is probably very scared right now and asking Spain to annex it. But hey, don't worry, Luxembourg is peaceful towards other micronations. Have no fear, Andorra. Have no fear, Malta or Monaco or Liechtenstein. You guys are all safe. You'll see that soon after this war over, Luxembourg has something in store for those countries. But for now, France is removed, and they are completely occupied by the red team. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. In this treaty here, we see that France loses all of its northeasternmost area, including Paris and the city of Lyon. Both of those cities come under Luxembourger control. This border will be erased, and now the actual city of Luxembourg, aka the capital of this country, is safe. There's no longer any country that is within a 50-mile radius of it. It's completely behind safe allied lines, including the state of Bavaria as well. But this is how our Luxembourg Empire is looking at this point. Very good, very strong. It has a lot of very valuable land now, and this country, as it stands, is probably not even in need of the buff anymore. They are probably strong enough on their own to take out some other countries, and with their allies, they might even be able to take on the UK, but maybe not because the UK is really strong. But they'd definitely be capable of taking on countries like Spain without any buff, or Italy. They just don't border those guys, so they can't do that. Anyway, though, I did say that there was something in store for the other microstates of the world, and that is the creation of the Microstate Alliance. The countries of Andorra, Monaco, Malta, and Liechtenstein will all join in on Luxembourg's alliance, and invitations will also be sent to other parts of the world. They will also add in Brunei, Singapore, all of these bum-ass nations over here in the Atlantic, and like Palestine. Oh, and also Bahrain, they get to join as well. Yeah, I know there's other micro countries in the world, like all these countries in the Oceanic region, but they're gonna be underwater in a few years anyway. You guys are micronations, but Luxembourg will not be inviting you to the alliance because, well, you're landlocked and you're also almost landlocked. There's no way for you to help out Luxembourg. You have to be useful to Luxembourg in some way. These guys can export like tropical stuff to Luxembourg. That's very useful. Anyway, with the creation of the Microstate Alliance, the red team will now go after one last country, and that is the jumping of Switzerland. Now, I don't really know why they're jumping Switzerland. They've never done anything to anyone, but I guess this just needs to happen. I think Luxembourg might have something against French people and German people too. Maybe they'll go after the rest of these countries here in a little bit. But for now, Switzerland gets the jump, and they stand no chance. Let's be real here. The Luxembourg Empire is too strong. But now let's go ahead and take a look at this very, very interesting peace treaty. So stage one of the treaty is just the red team getting their land gains. So Luxembourg, Bavaria, as well as Liechtenstein will all get a little bit of land from Switzerland. And stage two of this treaty is the complete balkanization of Switzerland. There has been about 20 new microstates created from Switzerland. This thing looks like it needs to go get checked out by the doctor's office. But Switzerland is no more. It's now just Switzerland's. There's so many micronations, and actually I think we need more. There's a few large provinces here, so we'll just go ahead and, you know, divide them up. Liechtenstein can keep their land though. They need to be the largest one here. Maybe Liechtenstein will go on an expansionist campaign of their own and start to annex all of these microstates in Switzerland. If there's a will, there's a way, and Liechtenstein definitely has the backing of some very strong countries to do so. So yeah, Liechtenstein Empire soon. soon. Anyway, for the next event of this video, which I might have said that the last one was it, but that's not the case anymore because Germany needs to go away completely. The previous treaty they had with this country has been mysteriously misplaced, and now the Luxembourgers as well as the Bavarians and the Swedish are sending their forces right back into this territory. Berlin is once again going to be captured by Red Team forces. This time though, they make sure that there is no more Berlin, so Germany can't come back. I'm not saying that Luxembourg has developed antimatter bombs that are big enough to wipe out whole cities, but maybe they have. Maybe they figured out how to make some NNHRBs from Wixo. But Germany is completely occupied, and from here they'll be completely annexed. With the German territory now being divided up like this, so Bavaria gets land as well as Sweden. They actually get the most land, now reaching all the way down to Czechia. That's right, Sweden borders Czechia technically. And then Luxembourg gets all of the rest of the land. If Berlin did exist, it would be under Swedish control, but now they're itching to balkanize yet another country. The world needs more microstates. That is the statement that Luxembourg is making. So even though they don't border them, Czechia will be the next country to get jumped. Bavarian troops will cross the border and begin to invade the specific area that was called the Sudetenland. Nowadays, we just call it Czechia though. Anyway, Prague is captured. Swedish forces do that, and they don't erase it like they did Berlin. The Swedes don't really have anything against the Czechians. This is just part of Luxembourg's great microstate plan. Or more so, the balkanization of every country in the world. This is a very absolute plan here, and I honestly think it should be fulfilled. If you really think about it, the more countries there are, the more representation people get. So if we just balkanize the entire world map and have thousands upon thousands, if not tens of thousands of countries, wouldn't that mean that all of us are better represented by our governments? Basically, bring back the HRE, but not the HRE, because that would not go well. Balkanize the world. That's my final message for you. But in this treaty here, we see that the Czechians are now divided into about 50 micronations. I didn't count them, and I won't, but if one of you crazy people want to do that, feel free. Please don't actually waste your time counting all these micronations. There's a lot of them. But yeah, Luxembourg has now balkanized yet another country. The total country count in the world now is probably around 200 to 300, no, definitely over 200, about like 250 to 300. Big thanks to Luxembourg for that, you know, representing the people of Europe a lot better. But that is going to do it for today's video on what if Luxembourg formed an empire. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. As always, the support is greatly appreciated. Also, make sure to check out the 200,000 subscriber limited edition merchandise. Link to that down in the description below, or also at AdizzMerch.com. In the description, you'll also find a link to the Discord server. Join that if you want to. We have a mock government going on over there with elections at the end of every single month. It's very cool. It's become a lot more active and a lot more better recently. So if you want to be a part of that, I highly recommend you join it. You also find a link down there, the channel memberships. If you want to get early access to each and every single one of my videos, feel free to sign up for the membership program. And if you do the higher level, which is the super fan, you do get a shout out at the end of every single video. Most people probably stop watching by then, but just know that you can have your name said at the end of every video if you are a super fan. Anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave all of your comments with your suggestions and input down below, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Augusto Mapping, Omega the YouTuber, the official GTG on YT, Kingdom of the Acheron, Shifty Mapping, Not CBB Junior, J5W, Opie the Bopi is totally my name, Xander Pro 2023, Green France, Nevada Garbage Trucks, Golden Ball Mapping, Australian Geo Guy, Zayland, DJ Big Goose, Laser Taze Mapping, and Hammer Toad 45. Once again, thank you guys.